So yesterday, of course, the NRA defeated background checks legislation in the Senate. They actually got 54 votes. Harry Reid switched over for procedural reasons, so it actually would have been 55 votes. It's a comfortable victory, except, of course, it was filibustered, so it was killed. And the people who forced that action, of course, was the NRA. Now, I think that they've actually made a tremendous mistake here, because what they didn't do was follow the regular course in Washington. What you're supposed to do in civil society in Washington is pretend you fix the problem without actually fixing it. The NRA, though, in their zeal, went overboard and killed everything in its sight, and no legislation passed. So now we know we didn't fix it, and there's significant anger in the country, especially because 91% of Americans wanted universal background checks, which, by the way, this bill wasn't. It was weaker than universal background checks, and they killed it anyway. It would have been a perfect fig leaf. It's Washington 101, where the Democrats say, oh, we're going to do change. And the Republicans water it down, until it's almost meaningless. And then the Republicans go, okay, what are we going to do? Fine, we do it. Obama declares victory, calls it historic reform. Everybody moves on, business as usual. But the NRA broke the rules here. And they actually did not do the fig leaf. I think it's a mistake for them. I think they might have jumped the shark on this one. First of all, Joe Scarborough, who admittedly has been on the warpath on this, has now gone to the point where he thinks it's getting close to being an overall death knell for the entire Republican Party. Listen.
And I've got to say, mark it down, this is going to be a turning point in the history of the Republican Party as well. And let those out there chattering, let them chatter away all they want to and scream like hyenas, let them do what they want to do. This party that killed this background check yesterday, this party is moving toward extinction.
Killing
a new
itself.
Republican Party is going to replace it. And this is going to be a vote that people are going to look back on and say, that party, that extremism, that was unsustainable.
Look, when you defeat legislation that 91% of the country agrees with, and you do it so publicly and so brazenly, and you brag about it afterwards, which is what Mitch McConnell is doing today, man, that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. And so now it's not just Democrats, and it's not just independents and centrists who are concerned. Adolphus Busch, who's of course one of the heirs to the beer fortune, was on the board of the NRA. He just quit. Not only did he resign from the board, but he also gave away his NRA membership too, saying, I've had enough. You guys are totally unreasonable. First of all, he reminded them in his letter, said, remember what you guys said back in 1999. I was there because I'm part of the NRA. He's been part of the NRA since 1975. He says, you forgot your original mission here. First, he says, was it not the NRA's position to support background checks when Mr. LaPierre himself stated in 1999 that the NRA saw checks as reasonable? Now, he's right about that. Wayne LaPierre said those exact words. But since then, the NRA has gotten more extreme. Why? Well, it's what we've been telling you all along, and now here's a board member of the NRA confirming it. It's because they don't represent their members, they represent the gun manufacturers. So Bush says here, your current strategic focus clearly places priority on the needs of gun and ammunition manufacturers while disregarding the opinions of your 4 million individual members. Because remember, an overwhelming majority of NRA members, over 70% of NRA members, say they're in favor of universal background checks. They're in favor of a bill that was tougher than the bill that just got killed by the NRA. So obviously you don't give a damn about your members, because no matter how high a percentage agree with the bill, you're going to kill it anyway. Why? Because the board has been taken over by the manufacturers, and that's what Bush says next. He says, quote, one only has to look at the makeup of the 75-member board of directors dominated by the manufacturing interests to confirm my point. The NRA appears to have evolved into the lobby for gun and ammunition manufacturers rather than gun owners. Bingo. He nailed it. That's exactly what the problem is. And the reality is the gun manufacturers don't want background checks because they also want criminals to have guns. Now, all a background check does is make sure that a criminal or a mentally ill person doesn't get a gun. But that doesn't help the gun manufacturers, Gun manufacturers want the bad guys to have guns. And if mentally ill people have guns, hey, they pay money too, right? And plus, when they go shoot everybody, everybody gets panicked and they buy more guns. These mass shootings are great for business for gun manufacturers. You think they're going to let the NRA agree to any bill that limits guns? Of course they're not. Look, the NRA came out, you remember Wayne LaPierre famously said, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Because the manufacturers think, hey man, that's a win-win for us. The bad guy has a gun, so then the good guy has to get a gun, and then everybody's got guns. Yeah, they might murder each other, but I make an extra $1. That's what the NRA is about. And by revealing that so brazenly in this, they've jumped the shark. Now, I don't know what that entails for them. They're still going to get the funding from the manufacturers, and they're still going to continue to do the lobbying. My guess is that some of these legislators that voted the wrong way will be punished by money spent in the opposite direction by people like Mayor Bloomberg of New York City. And then we will have a serious political fight on our hands. And I think that there's probably a balance of reason, no matter how corrupt our government is, and it's nearly at 100% corruption. And those people, those senators didn't give a damn about their voters. Max Baucus says, oh yeah, he said he had one word for why he voted the way he did. Now, he's a Democrat from Montana. And they asked him, why did you do that? And he said, Montana. Here's what I say to that. I have one word for you too, Max. Bullshit. Over 70% of the people of Montana are in favor of gun control. He doesn't mean Montana. The one word he really meant is checks. He gets checks from the NRA. He doesn't get checks from the opposition. At some point, though, there has to be a political price to pay. And it might come the next time there's a massacre, and I hope it never happens. But there's an ocean of guns out there, and the bad guys have them, good guys have them, it doesn't matter, everybody's got them. And so there's going to be another shooting, and when it does, people are going to be even more angry at how obstinate and unreasonable and ridiculous the NRA was in their profiteering for gun and ammunition manufacturers. If you don't believe me, believe a longtime NRA board member. He saw it from the inside, and he's calling them out on it, and he's absolutely right.